Hello everyone and welcome to another New World video. My name is Brian if you happen to be new to the channel, but if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back you sexy beast, and thanks so much for being amazing. That's what you get, by the way, for subscribing, is free compliments and a little bit of goofiness right at the start of the video. Now, there's going to be a lot of opinions. I'm really excited about bringing you guys some new guides that I've been working on for a while, and now that Season 1 is live, note that that is coming soon. But part of the conversation in the community is pointing out a few things, and that's what I want to sit down today, get you guys caught up on what's being talked about, share a little bit of my opinion, have a discussion with you guys, because that's what video games all about, and also get you guys hopefully some free loot and more. If you guys haven't seen, New World drops are going on right now. It's pretty an epic grind. You're going to have to grind out 20 hours by setting your computer and walking into the other room and doing something. But if you want to be a part of us and what we're trying to build here with gaming and discussion and MMOs, be sure to check the link in the description. Go check out Work to Game. I'm going to be live several of these evenings. I'm also going to be hanging out in the Discord. All the links are in the description if you want to get a part of this. You don't have to be on our server. We're just freaking chill. We want to talk about video games. Come hang out for the fun and get some free loot while you're at it. But let's not do too many plugs, because this is actually, I think, a really important discussion. I really would like to get your opinion on it, especially we can do, like a follow-up video on this, hopefully here later this week. But Eagle Garrett, if you're not following him, gonna totally plug this guy. Gonna put a link to his Twitter and all that great stuff. Streams over on Twitch. He's a Twitch partner. He tweets this out. But the key aspect that we're gonna take away in today's video, the first thing you should know is the devs have responded, and they say free-to-play is not even anywhere on their radar. But we'll get back to that here in a second. Let's talk about what he's pointing out, why he's frustrated. He says, I'm really excited for the Play New World update tomorrow. The feature that I've been waiting for most since closed beta is the gear sets, and it's finally here. But then today we find out that they're going to cost $5 per set after the first initial 3 that you get. This is absurd and really frustrating, to say the least. I generally love the game, and I have been one of the biggest advocates and positive voices for New World. But New World requires players to have an insane amount of gear to cover every facet of the game. I could easily have 20 sets just to cover the most common gears that I use. But now, the system that should have been available at the start of this game is going to force me to either buy this quality of life improvement multiple times or continue running through a ton of agony with my gear and inventory just to go through the tedious process of trying to find the specific gear in the middle of expeditions that are timed. It's just really disheartening when I've put over a year into this game and then promoted it for free. And generally I love it, but I would be okay with $1 an additional set, maybe even $2. But $5 is kind of a slap in the face. Sorry for ranting. I'm just really disappointed with the decision to do this, and to the players after everything else that we've dealt with in the delays, the bugs, and the lack of base features and inconsistency. I still love the New World, but I'm really irritated. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. New World Database replied to Eagle Garrett, this is where we got to the free-to-play conversation, saying, I'm wondering if the reason of pricing is potential upcoming free-to-play change. And Katie says, free-to-play isn't on the radar. So overall, I'd like to spend a little time with what Eagle Garrett has broken down here and give you guys my personal thoughts, because no matter what, when it comes to pricing, like, everybody's going to have their line. I mean, in the way, economics is the true governing factor here. If $5 is too much, they're going to make less money. If $5 is the right amount, then they're going to make the right amount of money. If $5 is too cheap, then they're going to be leaving money on the table. And my personal experience is from Final Fantasy XIV, where you don't actually own your additional storage, you rent it. So every month you spend that money, you rent that storage, and if you stop paying for it, you lose it. Here with the gear sets, it's at least a one-time fee. But that's just my perspective. So that's usually, like, when we get into this, just note that's where I'm coming from. Like, I would rather, like, and I've advocated, like, I was like, I would even pay $30 for a retainer in Final Fantasy if I didn't have to pay every single month in perpetuity. So that's kind of where, again, that perspective. But first and foremost, like, the first thing I get from Eagle's, kind of reaction here is, obviously, the guy loves this game. I've hung out in his streams. I think he's a class act. I think he's a class act kind of guy. But I think essentially this also is sticker shock. So first and foremost, this is, look, I'm reading his comment, and it's, to me, looking like you had expected I was in my mind, I was like, I could see them even going up to 10. Not that I think 10 would be overkill in price, but I was like, in my mind, I've been thinking $5 the whole time. $5 seemed like the starting point because there isn't an additional follow-up. There is no subscription to this game. There's no, system of that nature. And while we can always make the argument something should be there at the beginning at launch, in the MMO worlds themselves, like that is, I have a hard time getting behind that argument because you can't go back in time, and the system is here now, and you get 3. Could they have gone with 5? Yes. Should they have gone with 5? Absolutely. Does this satisfy the hardest endcore player? Absolutely not. Because of how the game is fundamentally structured. Will I assume that they're going to continue to expand it and add more of these sets? Yes. And will the hardest of hardcore players, probably pay for that? Most likely. I think what we'll probably see in an avenue of them expanding on gear sets is multiple different ways to earn them. At the start of this right now, you get the opportunity to have 3. You start with 2, you get the opportunity for 3. At $5 a pop, that also gives them the ability to discount that as a part of special promotions and sales down the line. As much as like we would, buy them all for $1 or $2, I think, how do you discount that? And that's a fact that we see. We've seen them do discounts on things on the store before. And so that is a price point that I think ultimately is the price point that makes the most sense. And I think maybe we could have done a better job as trying to set that expectation as content creators earlier on, because Eagle isn't alone in that kind of frustration. When you start to factor it in, when you start to look at the game's price, I think you can purchase up to 6 right now. Ultimately, I think you can have like 10 or something like that, maybe in that regards. So you start to think about $30 to $35 to $40 at this time. If you can buy more than that, then obviously you're going to scale up by a multiplier of 5 for every one that you can purchase. But let's just think about that at $40. Now, I've got a ton of time in this game. My total price point ask at this point has been $40. There hasn't been anything I've been needing to purchase at all that the game has offered. No, convenience features, no battle pass features, but today that changed. The relationship is in fact actually becoming what they said it would. These are all things that have been telegraphed earlier on, but not everybody receives those notes. Not everybody gets that information. So in this case, I see this as more the fulfillment of what they've been saying they're working on, what they're going with. And I see Eagle's, response, but the thing is that let's say he purchases the max amount. Next month, they're not asking you for more money. And the next month, they're not asking you for more money. And the next month, they're not asking you for more money. And the month after that, they're not asking you for more money. And we can go on and do this dance for a while, but there is no subscription. There is no additional cost. You aren't also renting these gear sets. I think this is a good and fair process, let alone that gives them the ability to put these things on sale. And you as consumer, we all have the right to vote with our wallets. And in my mind, I think this is just going to be something where the market will decide. Does this punish like the hardest core of players? Kind of, right? Like when it comes down to it, that's every game. Like games generally end up taking more advantage of those who are the most engaged in their game. They're going to be the ones who are going to take part in the systems and reward the gameplay for this. I think a lot of this frustration, and again, I'm putting words in Eagle's mouth in this case because of the conversation that this game isn't going free to play, because I think that would be the bigger mistake. I saw somebody comment earlier talking about how New World is overrun with bots, yada, yada, yada. It's like, yeah, every MMO online game has bots and will always have bots. But if you go and remove that barrier for entry, that initial ask in terms of cost, you're going to run into even more. And I could also see in terms of that pricing model that just like they have the Azoth edition, that at some point they'll update the edition that maybe does come with more gear sets, that does say, hey, we know if you're really hardcore into this game, you're going to be looking at picking up, at a minimum 10, or more. 10 isn't going to satisfy anybody. There's going to be people who want 20 and 30 and 40 and so on. And that's just going to be, I think, a process of evolving time. But I think free to play would be the wrong model. Namely, I could see that the base game becoming free when the expansion is released. And when I say that, because If you went with a free-to-play model and then started to charge for the expansion, that's too much of a gap. That's too much of a difference. I think that ends up causing too much kind of harm to the community. But if you then say, hey, our expansion's out, now our base game is discounted or our base game is free, I could see you doing different things, but you're going to again that means you're going to invite a lot of people, but you're going to invite a lot of problems at the same time. So I'm going to always try to advocate for the buy-to-play model. I do play and plan to play Throne of Liberty and Blue Protocol as free-to-play MMORPGs. There's going to be trade-offs in every business model that we have, and this is one of them. New World isn't a subscription-based MMO, and I think that's actually a strength, because if it was, I think it would be really struggling, because it's going to ask so much more in terms of your costs, where you're paying every month. And in this case, you can choose to opt into however many gear sets. And if $30 and $40 is too much to get the number of gear sets that you want, I would say, like, I feel you. I would bet that there's going to be a sale, because we've seen them put discounts on items in the store already, and $5 gives them the ability to discount that during the various different events, etc. So just note for paying attention on that. Anyway, guys, thought I'd kind of share this thoughts, kind of weigh in. Again, more content is coming. If you guys like New World, if you like hearing my voice share my thoughts about it as a developer, as an engineer in this case, that's kind of where I'm going to come from, because I think these things are really important conversations. And I think that when it comes down to it, it's going to be interesting to see, once people purchase their initial kind of offering, how overall and more invested or less invested are they in the game. Only time will tell. We'll be taking a look at some numbers here in the near future for you guys, breaking it all down, hopefully making it make sense. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up, guys. Thanks so much for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. But until then, take care.